Hello all, Jamie Rogers here from Jamie Rogers Crafts, and today we're going to play around with our lovely Rodney stamp who comes to us with our Christmas wishes collection. We're also going to bring in some sentiments. We're going to play around with our Snowflake stencil. We're of course going to be playing with that lovely Gemstones texture paste, and also our Clouded in Mystery is going to make the front of this card. Now if you haven't seen that or already ordered it, there's a high chance it's probably already sold out, because we had very limited stock by the time of launch. So we might have gone, but we'll have a little play and we'll show you what it's all about. We'll also be stamping the inside of our card as well, so that we're using the matching corners, which comes with our lovely Rodney the Snowflake stamp, to create a matching insert to go with the outside. So let's jump in and have a little look at how you can create this card. So let's start off our project by talking about our lovely Clouded in Mystery. Now, as I mentioned, this is a limited edition and limited stock product. We literally bought all of the available stock of this product and have been told they are no longer manufacturing it. So sadly, we will not be bringing you any more. So real warning here, if you haven't already ordered it, if you haven't already seen it, then do a bit of a search, see if you can find it at one of our stockists. If you don't already have a favourite Jamie Rogers Crafts stockist, then check out the website www.jamierogerscrafts.com and you will find a stockist guide on there. Now, why do you want this? What is this? This is translucent card. By that I mean that when we put it over an item, you can see that item shine through from beneath it. It's a very similar product to vellum, but it's a lot stronger than vellum. Vellum tends to be quite thin. This is actually a high enough grade that we could build things out of it, we can construct out of it. It can be our card fronts. It's 375 GSM, so it's got some real bite to it. Now the good bit with it is we can stamp on it, we can emboss it, we can use it in so many different ways, including also die cutting from it. So if I bring this in, this is using our lovely Frosty Snowflake corner dies. You can see that we've cut a couple of these and added them onto some black card. Now, talking about using glue with this product. Now, obviously, when we use vellum, we know that 99% of glues shine through with it. With this one, if you're using my glue, and it's not only my glue, I'm sure there are others available that you could be working with. I've only tested mine, so I'm going to tell you about my one. Mine will not show through if you apply a thin layer of it. On the reverse, on inside of this card, you'll notice that the panel I've put on the outside, been quite heavy with the glue. I've really gone to town with it, and it's going to shine through on top of another layer of it. I wasn't worried about that because A, I wanted to show you that you was going to see it if you went heavy with it, and B, I would be putting a placemat over the back of here so that you didn't see the dark card shine through, and I would probably stamp or add a little picture or something on the top of that as well. But if we are delicate with our glue, and I mean by that just applying a fine covering on the back of it, then when we stick these down, you're not going to see that glue shine through, and it's really lovely. Die cutting with it is a dream. They cut like butter through it, or a knife through butter, and yet you've still got a really lovely rigid die cut too. As I mentioned, we can also stamp on this. This one's actually been heat embossed, so you can heat it. And I've also put it through an embossing folder so you can see that you can emboss it. And similar to vellum, when we emboss it, it will of course go white, so that you end up with that white texture coming through as well, white depth to our project too. So I've told you a lot about this product. Let's actually start playing with it, shall we? So for this demo, we are going to emboss it with a stencil. Now, if this has already sold out, and as I say, I genuinely mean this, very limited stock, so it will be a hard one for you to find at a stockist now, I should imagine. So of course, we don't have to just use this. This could be ordinary card that we're working with instead, but this is a really lovely one to play with. So with our stencils, I'm going to bring in our Snowflake stencil, and I'm going to place this over the top of it. I'm then going to add a rubber mat over the top of that, and I'm going to send this through my machine. And if you've not seen this done before, what's going to happen here is that the rubber mat will push down onto the Clouded in Mystery, which will push that down into the apertures on the stencil, and it will emboss it for us. Now, this is quite a detailed stencil, and there's quite a lot going on here, and you will of course have to play around with the pressure in your machine. I'm going to bring this back so that I don't have to reach over the machine to get it, but you can just send it through once if you wish to. If you want to build up that depth, then obviously more pressure is going to push that mat further into your stencil, which will give you even more of an impression. Now, one of the nice bits here is that our stencils are quite a high grade mylar, so they're slightly thicker than most stencils, which does certainly help with our embossing. But of course, we are working with a cardstock that is 375 GSM. So it's not going to be as prominent as if you were using a thinner grade cardstock. Once we've done that, we can take away our stencil. Now, hopefully, I don't know how well you're going to see this, but there are now embossed snowflakes running across our clouded in mystery. Now I'm going to bring back in the original because I think you might see it slightly better with colour underneath that as well. So we'll take that one out of the way for the second. Let's bring this one in. Can we see it slightly? I think you can see it slightly better on that one. You can see that prominence. You can see that colour shining through from under it. It's going to create that effect for you, and you're going to be able to then use this as your card wrap round. Now I've got one I've already done here, and I've scored it, and I've done this. When you score this, I would recommend that you score it on both sides, and you do that a couple of times to break down them fibres and let that actually form your panel for you. It will certainly be easier for you to shape and move if you score both sides. So I've scored both sides to make this part. We're then going to bring in our back to our card blank. Now you don't have to make your card blank how I'm going to. You could literally take a store-bought card blank and wrap this around it and add some glue onto it. But when I make my own like this, I like to cover up my workings. So I'm going to bring in my glue and I'm going to add this going down the spine parts of this project. And of course, this is a dry clear glue, so if I have any excess come out the sides, don't have to worry about it. And I'm going to bring in an 8x8 square. I'm saying 8x8, and as I say that, I panic. Is it actually 8x8? Let's give you some measurements. This one is, oh, see, I'm wrong, 7.5-ish. Let's go back actually and check that. 7.25, sorry. So 7.25 inches by 7.25 inches. Now, of course, we can leave that with that wrap round in place, and that can just be on the reverse there. But I like to cover that one up as well. So this time I'm going to add some more glue over this side, and we're going to go all the way over our panel. Now, the card we're using for this is our Night Sky Navy Elite card. So this is a 300 GSM cardstock, which is perfect for building and constructing out of. To be honest, good quality card blanks usually are 300 GSM. So it's the same weight of card as you would normally buy in a store-bought card. So we know that when we bring this together, it's going to be nice and strong for our card. Now, of course, we've just stuck two pieces together. So this is now 600 GSM on the reverse and 375 on the front. So this is a really well-built, well-constructed card blank that's going to stand up to quite a lot of weight and bits on it if you want it to. We're actually going to go quite easy on it, and we're just going to add a panel with our lovely Rodney the Snowman. So let's bring in Rodney and do a little bit of stamping. So Rodney is, of course, our beautiful snowman stamp from our Festive Wishes collection. We're going to open up our stamp press. We're going to place in a piece of polar white card. We'll hold that down with a couple of magnets, and we'll bring in some ink. Now, you may have already seen these. These are my brand new ink pads. There's 6 in the collection. Probably my favourite, if you haven't already fallen in love with it, is Piggy Pink. It's a really lovely light shade of pink, but there are also blues. There are, of course, reds and greens. If I can retrieve these, we have got Squirrel Red, we've got Chameleon Green, and then just to finish us off, we have got Elephant Grey, and we've got Panther Black. Now, if you've not seen or heard about these already, they're a quick dry pigment ink pad. Pigment means that we can emboss it. So if you want to bring in your embossing powders and add to the top of this, you absolutely can do. What's novel for a pigment ink is when you see quick dry before it. Quick dry means that you're not going to have to wait hours for it to set if you don't wish to put powder over the top of it. We don't always want to add powders and heat emboss over the top of our stamped images. So this means that it's going to dry quickly, but yet still give you that option to add your embossing powder if you wish to. On top of that, these are acid free, so you can use them in your scrapbooking. They're water resistant, so if you wish to do watercolour painting and bits like that over your stamped images, you absolutely can do. And they're also alcohol ink friendly, and I'll share that with you in just a moment. So they're a good all-round ink pad that can come in for an awful lot of techniques and styles of card making and stamping. They're also really lovely to blend with, which again is quite novel for a pigment ink. Pigment inks tends to be oily, and when you actually go to sort of blend them with a blending brush, it can be quite messy and very patchy. These blend like a dream, which is what I wanted. I wanted ink that I could bring you that meant you didn't have to buy multiple inks all in the same colours to end up with different options. I wanted you to be able to have one ink that could do a lot of things. You know, it doesn't do everything in the world, but it does quite a few things. Now, I mentioned these are alcohol ink friendly, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you with you here. I could colour this in, but I've got one already done. I want to just share with you how you can take your alcohol ink, you can apply that even over the top of it, just like this, with quite a light shade, but there is none of that colour coming from in that stamped image. It's all staying in place. However much we go in there, we're not activating that blue and pulling that out from in that image. It's staying in place, and that's what we need when we're working with alcohol inks. Now, there are all different brands of pens. I haven't tried all of them in the world, but I've probably tried half a dozen and found that they're all exactly the same. I'm not getting any blending or any sort of movement in that ink, and that's what we really need. So we'll take this and we'll pop this out the way for now. We'll come back to playing with Rodney a little bit later, see what we can do with him. We might take him off on a bit of a different tangent now. So here's one I've done earlier, coloured in already, so that we can see how that's going to work for us. And we're going to bring back in our lovely snowflake stencil. So we're going to place this just over the top, and we're going to bring in some of our Gemstones glitter texture paste. Now, I'm working with the diamond white. Again, you might not have seen these, so let's bring in a few colours for you. We have got our Heliodor, which is gold. We've got our Argento, which is silver. We have got Ruby Slippers, which is red. We've got Emerald Green, which is our beautiful green. And then we have Onyx Black as well. And then, of course, to top out the collection, we have got our Diamond White. And they are our 6 colours of Gemstones texture paste. Now, this is a really high-grade texture paste. It's not full of filler. When you use it for your stencils, you're going to find it stays very prominent. It doesn't go cloudy because it's just full of the medium and no glitter. It's chock full of glitter. So when we use it, we're going to get a nice deep impression, and even colours like the white, when we use these over dark cardstock, you're not going to see through them. They're not going to go transparent. This white will dry on top of dark colours and you will still see it. They're also water-based, so if you wish to mix some with water and then flick it over your projects to make little pieces of snow instead of big bits for our stencils, then you can absolutely do that as well. Now, the little lid that you've got here, this little silver bit, you don't have to keep this on, but I like to keep mine on. They come with these in place when you actually buy them, so let's show you one of those. I believe this one here is yet to be opened. So they've got this air sealed tight lid on there. That just means that this is going to reach you in its freshest condition possible. And that's great because it means it's going to last longer in the jar and keep it nice and fresh and easy for you to work with. So when I use these, I like to just trim around the inside and then keep that as a little extra lid. Just make sure that that air doesn't get in there and keeps that for us so it's fresh and ready for us to use each time. Now, with our snowflakes, I don't want to cover over Rodney, so I'm just going to go round the edges of him. I'm not worried if I end up with half snowflakes or pieces of snowflakes as such. I just want to bring this down and make it look like we've got a little bit of snow falling around Rodney. I'm trying not to cover the robin or any of Rodney's hats or face or any parts like that, but I'm happy for it to get relatively close. Now, if you prefer, you can of course stamp another one of Rodney, cut that out as a mask, layer it on top of here underneath the stencil. Then when you apply it, you're not going to cover Rodney at all. I'm not that worried. So, it's up to you. Another tip I would give you is if, like here, we've got a little bit of the texture paste in a place where I don't necessarily want it. If we bring in a little tool here, we can quite easily just remove that out of the way and take that off. And then Rodney's back to having a perfectly clean hat without that snow going over the top of it. Same here with the robin. If I've got a bit that I'm not happy with, we can go in and take that away. So it's quite easy to remove while it's still wet. Of course, and I like to remind you of this because I've done this on a couple of videos I filmed recently, but if you end up with a snowflake in an area you don't want it to be, or you move your stencil when you come to take it away, never be afraid of removing your texture paste. You might leave a bit of oil or some markings on your cardstock, and you might then need to turn this over and work on the other side of it for your next project. But actually what we've done here is we've saved our texture paste. Our texture paste is a considerable purchase. Whoever's texture paste it is you're using, these things don't come for free. We've paid good money for it. If you're not happy with the results when you put it down, take it away, do it again. And then that way you've still got that value for money from your product. And the card, again, we can flip that over, we can use the other side of it. So you don't have to be that frugal. I'm certainly not in all aspects of craft. But when it comes to texture paste, I like to really save it. I love my texture paste. They're not something I want to use on something I'm not happy with. So once we've done that, we'll leave him to dry and let that set. Now this would take normally 15 to 20 minutes-ish, depending on how deep you've put it through your stencil and of course the room you're in and the temperature of the room, bits like that. With the stencil, I've just popped mine into some water because we don't want that to stay on the stencil. We do, of course, want that to come away and we don't want it to mark our stencil. Going back to our card front, we're going to do the same again. We're going to add some glue onto our panel, and knowing that that's going to shine through on this clouded in mystery, we're not worried because we would put a little panel over the inside, but we do want this to stay nice and in place on the outside of our card. So we're going to place that down roughly in the middle, and then we're going to bring in our lovely panel that we have created with Rodney. Now here's one I've already done that is dry and ready to go on, and I've built up on the reverse with just a couple of lines of my 2mm foam tape so that he's nice and ready to go on there. There we go, I'm relatively happy with that one. I've then got ahead and stamped the Let It Snow stamp, which again comes in with Rodney. That's one of the stamps that's on there. There is also another one as well, which is, let's have a little look, Snowflake Wishes and Let It Snow. So you've got two different sentiments, you've got three different snowflakes, this beautiful corner we're about to use, and Rodney himself, all in that one set. So we'll pop that out of the way for the second and we'll go on to the insert panel. So we're going to use a square of our polar white card, and I'm going to find that beautiful corner that comes with our Rodney stamp set. Oh, I can see I've already loaded it into my stamp press, that's handy. So we'll bring in our stamp press, we're going to take that square and we're going to load it into here with a magnet in the middle. Now I've chose to put the corner stamp in this corner. We're working on a square today, so it wouldn't actually matter. We could load it onto any corner that we want to. But if we were working on a rectangle, for instance, and we stamped our first one in this corner, we can then turn it and it doesn't matter what edge we're working on, we can stamp it to each one and it will be perfect. Had we have gone and put it on this corner, for instance, it could only do that corner and the opposite one down here and be in the right place. We would have to keep moving that stamp for each one of them. And we don't want to make more work than we need to. So we're going to come in again with our blue Emperor ink pad. So it's slightly different on this one. We're going to stamp that down and we're going to see how that looks. Now I love this stamp. It also has little placements on here that you can go in and colour, or you can add little gems on there if you wish to, or glitter glues, 3D pearls, 3D accents, glossy glazes, whatever you wish to. It's just one of them beautiful images that you could really dress up with a bit of bling if you want, or just leave it relatively plain. I also really like the shape that this creates. When we round out these corners, we'll end up with quite a nice circle in the middle. So if you wanted to add in a die cut layer, or maybe die cut from the middle of this card, you could do that. You could of course do this around the edges of our foiled inkables and different items like that too. I also really like the idea of using these on envelopes. You imagine that being the front of your envelope and adding that onto the flap of the envelope. Then when you open the card, the same corner is on the insert on the outside of the card. It all matches, it takes it through, it tells a story. And that's always a really lovely way to create and craft. So let's take our panel and then pop that into the inside. So I've gone ahead here and I've done one already on some Night Sky Navy. I've layered it onto Night Sky Navy and I've added some polar white underneath that as well. So I'll bring back in our card and we'll add this to the center, once again using our clear drying glue. So a little bit of that over the back there, and we can pop that down. Now if you'd like to add a sentiment into the middle there, obviously there is a couple of different choices which comes with Rodney, or there is the sentiment set of stamps which would give you Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas, Season's Greetings, Christmas Wishes, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We've loved this Christmas, thinking of you this festive season, wishing you all the joy in the world this festive season, and sending warmth and wishes your way this Christmas. So a few options on that one that might come in really handy. Then when we go on to the completed card, I've already added a ribbon on the side here as well, just to complete that project, which is just a nice addition. But there's many ways in which you could take this and dress it up further if you wish to. So just a few options for you on how to create this. Now don't forget, if you would like the texture paste, the ink pads, the colours of card, the stamps, the stencils, the clouded in mystery, any of the items we've been looking at for this project, then check out our stockist guide on www.jamierogerscrafts.com and have a little look for the tab that says stockist guide, and on there you will find one of our amazing stockists that you can track down these items if you would like to purchase them. Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Bye for now.